Hi, Taylor. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Not at all. Hi there. My name is Taylor Strantz, and I'm excited to chat with you guys today.
Awesome. So let's just dive right in. So if you are comfortable, could you share the context of the circumstances that helped shape your opinion of what we will be discussing today?
Yeah, of course. So to cut a long story short, I used to live in an abusive home, and the first time that I tried to do anything about it, I talked to my mother, and she didn't believe me. And the second time I talked to my sister, Brianna, um, and she called the police, even though I begged her not to. I was a little girl, I didn't know better, you know. Um, and I did not have a very good experience with them or CPS. Yeah, but I'll go into more detail about that after. Yeah.
Right. CPS being Child Protective Services.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So, what is your current attitude toward the criminal justice system today? And do you think it was formed um, as a result of your personal experiences?
I have a harsh scope. I'm a little bit pessimistic about the criminal justice system for a number of reasons, but I do think a giant contributing factor is what happened to me and how it was handled and how I think it should have been handled. Um, yeah.
Okay. Um, so were there specific aspects of the interview process with the police officers that made you uncomfortable?
Yeah, actually. So, first of all, I know that they're just doing their jobs, but I was a very scared little girl, like what, I think 13, 14.
Mm.
Um, and these two men that I've never talked to before in my life or seen before in my life are suddenly probing me for questions in a way that is not gentle, you know. And I know that they needed to get the information out about what happened to me regarding my stepfather, which, to clarify, I was molested by my stepfather. Um, I just feel like they handled it with not a lot of tact, and I probably would have been a lot more comfortable if, you know, at least a female officer was there or the option of that was a thing. Um, Maybe not such abrasive language and like direct confrontational questioning, like something more gentle, I think would have served me better at the time.
Right, a trauma-informed approach would have been appropriate given the
Yeah.
circumstances. So you really just wish there would have been the option that that option would have just been provided to you from the get-go, is what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so after your your negative experiences with the criminal justice system and CPS, what happened? What ultimately
Well,
happened? What was their um what did they say was going to happen from that point on?
so they kind of left things up to me. Let me actually explain a little bit before that. I wasn't allowed to be at the house for a period of time. And I was asked more questions by the police after that point, and I was asked more questions by CPS way after that point. Um, After I was able to return home, actually, which I think was wrong. They sent me back to that place, and then they sent me to another place to be asked questions about what it was like at home and with my parents and everything, as if my parents weren't putting pressure on how I was going to be responding to CPS. Um, and then ultimately, I was given the decision of what was supposed to be done. And I felt way too young to be given that heavy decision. And my stepfather's words echoed in my brain of, don't mess things up for everybody else. So I didn't want to mess things up for everybody else. So when asked, I closed the case. And I was told that I had a year to reopen it if I wanted to. I just had to call back a person working my case. But I still lived in that house. So I didn't feel comfortable or safe enough to. I had no reason to. I was going to mess things up for everybody, voice in my head.
Do you feel like the police did their job in protecting you?
No, no. I mean, look, you go into a situation, you only have so much information. I can understand that. And I can also understand that it can be difficult when talking to a child because children can misunderstand things, but there are some things that are not misunderstood. Like what makes you feel unsafe, what makes you feel uncomfortable. Those have merit. And if somebody is the victim of a crime from a man, you probably don't want to talk to men about it. At least in my experience, I know I did not. Um, so I think it could have been handled a lot better in a lot of different areas. The police, CPS, um, me having to go back home at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
Were there any specific challenges you faced post justice system involvement? Um, or was that really just the challenges you faced were just having to go back home?
So I mean, I had to go back home and I had to stay back home until I was a legal adult and I could leave. And things persisted, even actually worsened during that time. And I just had to bite my tongue and deal with it. And then I went away to school, I got away, and I tried to talk to family about it after I got away, and I got space and I got help, counseling, and I realized like this is seriously a problem. It is not okay. It needs to be talked about, especially when I was having to go home and having, I'm not going to get into it, but very terrible physical reactions to just the concept of having to go back to that house with him still in it, you know. So no, and then after it all came out, my family crumbled apart. Um, some people divided, some people believed him and decided not to believe me. Some people cut him off and we just lost contact. And, I know that's not my fault, but it's a lot of burden, it's a lot of effect on me ever since. So a lot of things that could have been avoided had the police done a better job, I think.
I agree. At the time of your involvement with the criminal justice system, were you personally aware of, on your own, or were you made aware of any policies or laws that could have helped you throughout this process?
No, no, I was not.
Okay. Do you feel like there should be more education or um, more just offered to you outright from the beginning when an investigation like this is opened?
I do. I think, honestly, if I had more time and more space and like a comfortable place to process things and somebody to sit down with me and go over like one, why it's not okay. Not that you can have an understanding of something being wrong without being able to fully parse the details, right? Or even how to get out of it. So if somebody sat me down and explained that that was an option, that I like a legitimate option, um, and that there were safety nets for me and my family, that I wasn't going to be, quote, ruining anything for anybody else, I probably would have made a lot of different choices. And I'm sure that there are a number of people out there just like me, victimized and scared and told that they should not have a voice or they just can't for any number of reasons. and policies like that would be really good for them.
I agree. Um, so overall, in what ways do you believe the criminal justice system could be improved, based on your specific encounter?
I I just think it's so inherently flawed from the get-go in the way that we go about evidence collection and talking to victims and interviewing people surrounding the victims and the possible perpetrators. And I don't even know where you would begin. Like it's just it needs so much more consideration and time and money and infrastructure that I just realistically don't see being put into it, which is tragic. But
Right. Well, I believe, um, I'm sure you've heard me talk about trauma-informed care before, as I'm studying to get my master's in social work and become a licensed clinical social worker. Do you think that um, trauma-informed care is probably not just for therapists? It could probably be used um, in the criminal justice system when working
you
with
know, I
victims.
I will say that is something I could see being used to improve the criminal justice system because I mean, I remember you telling me about it. It can be applied to like domestic violence, like somebody has called on this house multiple times, and that could very easily be applied to like a child abuse case, right? Or somebody just sees suspicious behavior going on in a family and they comment on it and that goes into a file. I think that would be incredibly beneficial.
Right. So I've asked you everything that I can think to ask you. I would like to end this on a positive note. Would you mind sharing how you're doing today since
Oh no, not at
everything?
all. Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of a bleary start there, but since getting away and going to college and seeking help and being around support systems that are better for me, um, I feel leagues better than I ever did. Like, I didn't see a future for a good chunk of time in my life. It was so cloudy and I was so desperate and sad. There was nothing. And now I'm here and I'm so grateful that um, I have autonomy and I have the ability to make a safe space for myself and other people. And if I see something wrong in the world, like what happened to me, I have a chance to do something about it. So yeah, I'm doing better.
And you have your dog.
And I have a dog who I love, who I'm obsessed with. So, light of my life. Of
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
course. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.